Raheem Morris is in there saying, guys, imagine if we score touchdowns, right, instead of field goals. Imagine if we get more stops, how good we can be. So the confidence for the team has got to be through the roof, knowing that they have corrections to make like every game. But the fact that you can make those corrections off of a win, I mean, that's huge.
Throw it again. Over the middle. End zone. It is caught. Touchdown, Trey Palmer.
They wanted to be physical inside. Handling Davis, handling Carter. Clean pocket. Palmer is in there for Evans. This is kind of an Evans route when you put it in. And Palmer comes in because Evans catches the ball previously. Fires it in on there on Slay. They're fired up.
Welcome to the NFL on Fox podcast, presented by Verizon, the NFL powered by Verizon 5G. I am your host, Dave Helman, and I'm thinking Tom Brady got pretty darn good at calling Buccaneer touchdowns on Sunday afternoon. He had his pick to choose from. Big day down in Tampa. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, one of the big winners of a loaded Week 4, but that is just the beginning. Last-minute finishes galore in Week 4, statement games both early and late, a very surprising, very impressive unbeaten. How about a rookie sensation who's continuing to take over the league? And that's just the beginning. Still 2 more games to go tonight to wrap up Week 4. So much to get to. If you haven't already, if you don't, make sure you subscribe to the pod. Go find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you prefer. We're doing this every Monday, recapping the best of the Sunday slate in the NFL. We will be back tomorrow to talk about a Monday night doubleheader, wall-to-wall football all season long. You know the drill. So let's just get right into it. A loaded Sunday in the NFL. And if you're new to the show, we call this our Sunday Six. We're going to take you through the absolute best of the weekend, the stuff you need to know, the stories that are worth highlighting as we work through the NFL season. Week 4 delivered in a big, big way. And as we just alluded to, let's start with it down in Tampa Bay, a very impressive performance for Tom Brady's old team. Let's start the Sunday Six out down in Tampa, Florida, one of the many areas in this country affected by Hurricane Helene. Our thoughts go out to everybody affected by that storm. And if you're a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, hopefully you got a lift from one of the most impressive results of Week 4. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers host the Eagles and thrash them 33-16, game that felt mostly over by the end of the first quarter. And I got to think back to last week. The Buccaneers know exactly how it feels to start slow and find yourself in a hole before you can blink. They were down 17-0 to the Denver Broncos just a few minutes into the second quarter last week. Well, with Tom Brady watching from the Fox booth, they repaid the favor to the Eagles. They were up 21-0 1 minute into the second quarter, jumped all over the Eagles, and it was Baker Mayfield that led the way, could not miss early, 237 passing yards at half. Just a phenomenal day from Baker Mayfield, terrorized the Philadelphia secondary. So it's no surprise that the current Buccaneers quarterback was the former Buccaneers quarterback's LFG Player of the Game.
Hey, Baker, congratulations winning the LFG Player of the Game. Awesome performance, 30 of 47. You had about 6 drops in there that we counted. You were super efficient today. It started on the opening drive. Tell me what the plan was going in. You got off to such a fast start.
Appreciate it. Just with this front that they have, knowing the big guys they have up front, getting the ball out early, letting our guys make plays in space and seeing what kind of tackles we can break. And guys were locked in on the plan. We're dialed in on the details, and so that's why we started that fast. Yeah,
and tell me about, obviously, the relationship with Mike Evans. And believe me, everyone loves throwing to Mike. And when I was here, I was finding him on every play. And I said to KB, if I'm him, I'm throwing him to the first play of the game. And there you go. You fire the hitch out there to him and get him rolling. I know that always gets some juice flowing for him. How did he look to you out there today?
He looked great. I mean, as hot as it was today, guys are rotating in and out, but Mike's a stud, as you know. So, yeah, just trying to get him going early, something we didn't do last week that we realized we needed to.
Yeah, now you're 4 games into the season, got into a good start. This is kind of where you want to be in September football. What are you looking to establish as you go forward here?
Yeah, obviously, kind of separated into quarters of the season, 3-1 this quarter, but we got a short week, got a divisional opponent on the road on a Thursday. So for us, just continue to be efficient on offense, be locked in on the plan, start fast, and let our defense get their pressures on.
Yeah, quick turnaround for you. Good luck in Atlanta. And last thing, you've had this Liam Cohen, it's his 4th time calling plays. And I thought he did an awesome job today, really eliminating the impact of that defensive front. Tell me about your relationship with him.
I love Liam. We have a very good relationship, just the communication back and forth. He was dialed in today, just understanding the strengths of their defense and how we needed to attack it. And I thought the whole day, we didn't make enough plays for him. We should have been more efficient, but he was dialed in.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. Great leadership by you today. I love seeing it out there. Good luck the rest of the year. Keep putting some pressure on those guys to be even better. I know what you guys are capable of. Keep going out there and grinding and getting it done.
Appreciate you, Tom. Good to see you, brother.
Great seeing you. Great job.
I absolutely loved the Buccaneers' game plan for this situation because it was very obvious from the get. I mean, Baker Mayfield was the catalyst, but the Buccaneers were not interested in trying to run the ball into the teeth of the Philadelphia defense. They ran 25 times on the day. 15 of those came in the second half when they were basically just trying to ice a big lead. Baker was throwing the ball all over the yard, and a lot of short intermediate passes, a lot of screens to receivers, a lot of swings to running backs, basically trying to mimic a running game. I thought it was an incredibly smart approach by Liam Cohen and the Tampa Bay coaching staff to basically say, hey, let's lean into what we're good at. We're not going to ram our heads into a brick wall. They did actually manage to get their running game going once they had the lead, but I love that approach. Took care of the Philadelphia secondary. And that's the one thing I'm truly worried about if I'm the Eagles is this pass defense. Because look, the offense, I'm even willing to give a pass. Jalen Hurts didn't have A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. Lane Johnson didn't play in this game after getting a concussion last week. So you're talking about arguably the 3 best players on your offense not being available in Tampa. It makes sense if they had a hard time getting things going until the lead was out of control. But defense, much more together, much more available, and the secondary just could not hold up to Tampa Bay's passing game. That is what concerns me more than anything if I'm an Eagles fan. Also, Eagles probably just tired of going to Raymond James Stadium. They're 1-3 in their last 4 trips down south. It definitely looked like the temperatures in Tampa were messing with Philly. You heard them talking about it on the broadcast. 90 degrees, felt like close to 100 on the field. Cramping was an issue. I believe Cam Jurgens, the Eagles center, left the game with cramping problems. I don't doubt that was an issue, but man, it's been tough when the Eagles have gone down there. Tom Brady mentioned it as well. Like, even when you go down there in the playoffs, winter, January in Tampa is a different beast than January in Philadelphia or New England, some of those places. So regardless of the time of year, I'm guessing it's tough. 2 bad playoff losses for the Eagles when they've gone down there. And now this one, Philly heads into their bye week, searching for answers. It's an early time to get a bye week. I don't envy the Eagles for that, but maybe this one is well timed. You get a couple guys back from injury. This offense needs its receivers to be as effective as it wants to be, and maybe the defense can just get into the meeting room and figure something out. But it has been a very turbulent start for the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts strip sacked in this game, by the way. 7th turnover on the season, 27 dating back to the start of the 2023 season. Also something to monitor for Philly, but a big win for the Buccaneers in front of their Super Bowl winning quarterback, Tom Brady. Baker Mayfield shines, and the Bucs now get a Thursday night showcase game against Atlanta to really try to take control or early control of the NFC South, but that'll be a fun game in Atlanta on Thursday night for a Buccaneers team that, if they started a little bit faster against Denver, we might be talking about them as one of the league's only 4-0 teams. I think they'll still be plenty happy with an impressive win against Philadelphia. Let's take it to another NFC power that's probably pretty happy with their performance. The 49ers, definitely not a perfect day out in Santa Clara, which makes it all the more impressive that they rolled over New England to a score of 30-13.
Brissett given time over the middle. He gets picked off by Warner. Fred Warner climbs the ladder to get it, and now he sprints down the sideline, inside the 10. He won't be denied. Touchdown, San Francisco. It's a 45-yard pick six for Warner, and it's the defense that finds the end zone first.
Second item on our Sunday Six is those 49ers getting back on track with a dominant win against the Pats. I don't know how much we really learned about San Francisco on Sunday. This is what was supposed to happen. They were 10-point favorites at home. They played like it. Even on a somewhat sloppy day, they were never in danger of losing this game or really letting it even get all that close. That's what the script called for. That's how it played out. Let's give a shout out to that guy, though. Fred Warner playing at a defensive player of the year level early in the season. I don't know if you can keep that up. We haven't seen an off-ball linebacker win the award in quite some time, but if anybody's going to do it, it should be Fred Warner. Up to 27 tackles, 4 pass breakups, a sack, 2 interceptions on the year, and that second interception on Sunday goes for a touchdown. He is balling to start the year, and I loved this stat. Fred Warner is now the only player in the last 5 years with 10 interceptions, 10 forced fumbles, and 10 sacks, all since 2019. He is a threat in every way imaginable, one of the absolute best defenders in the NFL. For your consideration, I just think his name should be on the list of people we're talking about for Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going to step out on a limb and say it's going to stay that way all season long. Warner, a phenomenal game. One of the names that we're used to, this game featured a few new names featuring for the 49ers. That's what I wanted to talk about when I caught up with Joe Davis and Greg Olsen after the game. Well, fellas, a really convincing win for the 49ers over the Patriots. And I loved what y'all were talking about at the end of your broadcast, which is, look, we're dealing with a lot of injuries for San Francisco, but while these guys are out, how big is it for this team to be developing some of this depth and getting contributions from guys that maybe we weren't expecting?
Yeah, we've seen it really throughout this year. They've had guys step up and give them big performances.
Yeah, and I think the key is as the season gets long, even though you start getting guys back, the inevitability of the NFL is then you start losing other guys. It's kind of a never-ending cycle. It's really a war of attrition. The teams are the healthiest and the deepest entering the playoffs. Those are the teams that you see make the furthest run. So, listen, you never want any of your top players, you don't want any of your players to ever get hurt. But if they can continue to get guys back slowly while also developing the depth of this roster, come December when everyone's making their playoff push, all of a sudden now you've got a really deep 53-man roster. Now you have something you can work with into the playoffs.
The talk leading into this game is that the Niners defense hadn't been up to the standard we're used to. Maybe the Patriots aren't the best test for them this season, but still had to be really encouraging the way that they got after New England in this game.
Yeah, I think they had the huge play to kind of get him going today, especially Warner, that pick six, because it was a little too close for comfort for him before that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing today was the takeaways, right? The one, obviously, Warner's pick six, and then Bosa there at the end to kind of put the game away with the strip sack. And the biggest thing for them is they just need to play at this level all the time, regardless of who the opponent is. I think they came in understanding this was a one-dimensional offense, go hard on the run game, get a lead early, and then once you turn New England into a passing offense, they're not built for that. That was kind of our point early in the season. The defense tried to hang on, got away from them, and then it just turns into tee off on Jacoby Brissett, and protection's obviously been an issue for them all season long.
A lot of different names this year, but hey, 431 yards of offense, 30 points. Looked awfully familiar for the 49ers today. Guys, as always, I appreciate it.
Okay, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Like I said at the top, I don't think this is a win that changes anybody's minds about who the 49ers are or where they're going. At the very least, when you lose a heartbreaker in week 3, it's nice to wash that taste out of your mouth with an easy game. Like Brock Purdy said afterward, a game that lets Kyle Shanahan smile on the sideline. It's nice to know in the late third, early fourth quarter that you're going home with a win. Kudos to the Niners for that. Now let's take it to the third item on our Sunday 6th, which is the early slate featuring anything but Several finishes going down to the absolute wire, highlighted by a booming walk-off field goal in Atlanta.
With the Falcons trailing by 1. Younghoe Koo from 58. It is good. Still 2 seconds on the clock as the Falcons celebrate the longest field goal of Younghoe Koo's 7-year NFL career.
A dramatic finish for the Falcons, which is the story of their season to this point. You realize in 4 games, the Falcons have had the ball with a chance to win or tie in the final minute all 4 times. Literal wall-to-wall drama. They've been successful in half of those games. They've been unsuccessful in the other half. So a very stressful 2-2, but nobody's worried about that when Younghoe Koo hits a field goal like that. Had a chance to catch up with the guys who called it, Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma, about a thriller in Atlanta. Well, guys, 4 weeks and 4 games that have come down to the buzzer for the Atlanta Falcons. What is it with this team and these dramatic finishes? And the latest one, a huge field goal from Younghoe Koo. I mean, what a thrilling team.
Well, it was a wild one here in Atlanta. Falcons now 2-2, and their offense didn't score a touchdown, but one from the special teams, one for their defense, and Koo with another outstanding day.
Yeah, I tell you, this team, they find a way to win, right? That old cliche, and today it was the takeaways. They were able to get 2 takeaways, got 14 points off of that, and then the defense did just enough to hold the Saints offense. I think that they were very, very good at just responding every time. Every time that the Saints came with something, they had an answer for it, and that's the mark of a good team.
And that's what I wanted to ask you guys. Obviously, you know, Kirk Cousins said it with y'all at the end of the game. You want to do more for your defense, but what does it do for your confidence as a team when you can fail to score an offensive touchdown and still manage to get a big division win?
I mean, it is great for a team because you know how good you can be, right? You know Raheem Morris is in there saying, guys, imagine if we score touchdowns, right, instead of field goals. Imagine if we get more stops, how good we can be. So the confidence for the team has got to be through the roof, knowing that they have corrections to make like every game. But the fact that you can make those corrections off of a win, I mean, that's huge.
Atlanta Falcons get back to 500. Just as thrilling as we all thought it would be, guys. Thanks so much for the time. Brutal breaks for the Saints now in 2 consecutive games. Consider, going back to last week's loss to Philadelphia, their offense has given them the lead in crunch time of the last 2 games. They take the lead on Philly with roughly 2 minutes to play. They top that on Sunday. Alvin Kamara plunges in to give them a 24-23 lead with a minute to play. Just 1 minute too long. Ironically, not even the most memorable game-winning drive you're going to see from Kirk Cousins. It was a 30-yard defensive pass interference that did the vast majority of the work. But these kickers in 2024, 58 yards, no sweat. What a win for the Falcons. NFC South shaping up to be just as competitive as we were hoping. But that was not the only photo finish in the early window on Sunday. Down in Houston, Texas, the Texans squeak by the winless Jaguars by the thinnest of margins. They needed almost all of 60 minutes. With 18 seconds to play, C.J. Stroud finds running back Dare Ogunbowale for the go-ahead touchdown. Texans trailed for the vast majority of the second half. They had the ball 6 times after halftime. They punted on 5 of those possessions. Jags take the lead midway through the third, and it looks like another crazy day in the NFL. You lose to a team that had come in 0-3. Those are the breaks. But no, C.J. Stroud, with just under 3 minutes to play, puts together a really nice drive. 9 plays, 69 yards. They get down into the red zone, and Ogunbowale just kind of sneaks out into the flat. 18 seconds to play. Easy touchdown. And what a big one it must have been for him. Journeyman running back, been in the league for a minute, been on several teams, including spending 2 years with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Just his 6th NFL touchdown beats his old team. And of course, even better than that, His sister, Arike, WNBA star Arike Ogunbowale, was in Houston. She plays up in Dallas. Short trip down to go see your bro. Get the dub for the Texans, flying high as the Jaguars fall to a very disappointing 0-4. Shout out Nico Collins, by the way. First player in Texans history to eclipse 450 receiving yards in the first month of a season. My guy is at 489 through the first month of the season. An incredible start for Nico, and the Texans get back on track with a big division win. Not to be outdone. Well, actually, to be outdone. There was one last photo finish in the early window on Sunday. I don't think we need to spend a whole hell of a lot of time on it, as the Denver Broncos go up to MetLife Stadium and outlast the New York Jets 10-9 in a game that was absolutely as bad as that score suggests it was. Rainy day in New York. I get it. The weather conditions were not ideal. Does not excuse the Jets. Just a sloppy day. And then, of course, you trade not makes. Like, typically in these 2-minute drills, you see teams exchange scores the way that the Saints and Falcons did. No, the Broncos and Jets exchange misses. Will Lutz misses with just under 2 minutes to play to leave the door open for the Jets to win with a field goal. They drive down into field goal range, and Greg Zuerlein, roughly a minute later, misses from 50, and the Broncos win. It's just that kind of day. I'm not trying to take credit away from the Broncos. I don't think very many people expected them to win, and they did. Good for them to get to 500. But Bo Nix, in the victory, became the first quarterback in the Super Bowl era to win a game while averaging less than 2.5 yards per attempt. 25 attempts, 60 passing yards on the day. Just not a game that I think anybody needs to get into too much detail with, but a missed opportunity for the Jets. And like I said, hey, Broncos, get the wins where you can, my dudes. You go on the road and get it done to wrap up a wild finish to the early slate of games on Sunday. The fourth item on this week's Sunday Six is our Victory Unlocked. It's brought to you by Zillow. Agents, tours, loans, homes. I'm going to apologize in advance if I'm about to get a little too detailed. Dive into the weeds of the X's and O's. Get a little too esoteric for you. Real high-level football stuff, but if your running back goes for 199 and you run for 271 as a team, as the Baltimore Ravens did on Sunday night, you're probably going to unlock a victory. Just a guess, a hypothesis, if you will. Baltimore Ravens steamroll the Buffalo Bills 35-10 at their place in Baltimore on Sunday night. It was Josh versus Lamar. It was billed as one of the must-see games of the week. And other than a very small rally attempt, which was quickly snuffed out by the Ravens, this was all Baltimore all night. With apologies to a couple other teams, it really felt like the statement win of week 4, because who was hotter than the Buffalo Bills coming into the weekend? We talked about it on the preview show. Bills had scored 112 points on the season. They were running through people. At the very least, even if they lose this game, you think it's a back and forth affair. The Bills are never out of a game when they have Josh Allen. The Ravens put a stop to all that from the get, because not only do the Bills punt on their first possession, but Derrick Henry then gets the ball and goes 87 yards to the house on his first touch. And it absolutely would become a theme. The Ravens averaged 8 yards per carry in this game. And we can talk all we want about the Bills defense being depleted. That hadn't stopped it from being very impressive for most of the last 3 weeks. So worth keeping in mind, but still an incredibly impressive performance, especially when you remember the Ravens have been doing this to everyone they play. So yeah, a very impressive night. Derrick Henry, by the way, his third 80-plus yard touchdown of his career, which puts him third only behind Adrian Peterson and Chris 2K Johnson. Hell of a night for Henry, which quick complaint, Baltimore Ravens. Derrick Henry finishes with 199 on the night, like I said. And I do not understand the thought process late in this game. The Ravens cared enough about Derrick Henry getting to 200 a lot, as evidenced by the fact that they gave him the ball 6 times on their last 2 possessions. He was running right up the gut in a 25-point game that Lamar Jackson had been pulled out of. So they cared enough to do that, but not enough that on their final snap of the game, 3rd down with Henry sitting on 199, they threw him a pass rather than give him one more shot at it. So he finishes with 199. It does matter because if he had gotten that 1 extra yard, he would be in sole possession of the most career 200-yard rushing games in league history. Hey, they get the win. That's what matters. But I bet you Derrick Henry cares about that. 1 yard shy of a huge milestone. Minor detail, incredibly impressive win on both sides of the ball for the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, excellent again, 135 passer rating. He only needed to throw the ball 18 times in the game. I think that's going to be a theme based on how well the Ravens are running the ball against their opponents. And the Ravens defense, absolutely ridiculous. Hassled Josh Allen into his worst passer rating of the season. Did not let the Bills do anything. They had just 12 first downs on the night. And like I mentioned earlier, as soon as the Bills started to attempt a rally, they did get into the end zone. The Ravens were all over it. Bills, questionable decision to try a trick play, wiped it out immediately, annihilated Josh Allen on the receiver pass to the quarterback, didn't go anywhere, and it was curtains from there. And here's the stat that I want you to digest if we're just snapshotting this game. Shout out to my guy, Sheil Kapadia of The Ringer, for bringing this up. First time the Bills have lost a regular season game by more than a touchdown since November 21st of 2021. It's almost 3 years without a real deal ass whooping. And this is the NFL. That stuff happens to everybody. And now the Bills. It's remarkable how consistently competitive this team has been during the Josh Allen era, which puts it into focus just how dominant the Baltimore Ravens were. They get to 2-2. They hand the Bills their first loss of the season in very impressive style. And just like that, this is the team we all thought we'd be seeing all season long. If they don't blow that 4th quarter lead against the Ravens, we'd probably be talking about them as one or at least 2 of the very best teams in the NFL. They seem like they're rounding into form after the first month of the season, and I can't wait to see the game plan that's going to slow this combo of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry down. Might have been a big win in Baltimore, but the Ravens are not undefeated. Let's focus there in the 5th item on our Sunday 6, and that's that there are already just 2 4-0 teams remaining in the NFL. The Bills obviously lose on Sunday night. The Steelers lost early on Sunday. We will get to them. But for now, let's focus on the 2 undefeateds that did win on Sunday. Yeah. Cool. You predicted the Kansas City Chiefs to open 4-0. That's very cool. That's very cute. Who's surprised? Let's talk about the other guys. The NFC's only 4-0 team as of right now. We'll obviously keep an eye on the Seattle Seahawks. They play Monday night. But the Minnesota Vikings do it again. Got a little interesting at the end. They did allow a little bit of a Packer rally, but they downed Green Bay 31-29 at Lambeau. They are 4-0. They are so much fun. They are impressive. This is the, obviously, 4th straight win for Minnesota, but also the 3rd straight win against a winning team. I mean, you go back to August. Not that it matters once we've started playing the games, but San Francisco, Houston, and now Green Bay, 3 teams very much considered playoff contenders, widely considered Super Bowl contenders, and the Vikings have beaten all of them. In a couple cases, smashed them. I mean, beat the Texans 34-7. Were up big in this game. They raced out to a 28-0 lead. And yeah, I guess maybe it lessens some of the oomph when you allow the Packers 22 4th quarter points, but a dub is a dub, particularly on the road in the division. Where do you want to start? Sam Darnold, Look, it is. We're still going to keep an eye on this, but I can no longer expect for the other shoe to drop when Sam Darnold continues playing this way. 20 of 28, 3 touchdown passes, third highest passer rating in the NFL for the week. 11 touchdown passes, leads the entire league by a pretty significant margin, mind you. Baker Mayfield is in second with 8. So Sam's got a full several games worth of touchdown lead on this guy. He's the only quarterback in the NFL to throw multiple touchdowns in all 4 of his outings. It is early, and we've watched a lot of Sam Darnold. Not saying that it'll continue at this torrid pace, but after 25% of the season, we have a large enough sample size to say, hey, when things are clicking for Sam Darnold and the Vikings, they can be more than good enough. And of course, how can you call it too early to talk about MVP when Sam Darnold's MVP odds have dropped from 200 to 1 a month ago to 11 to 1 here at the end of September? A lot of football left to be played, but I'm getting more and more comfortable saying this is something you can bank on. Are the Vikings going to lose a game? Probably multiple of them. Almost definitely. But this is clearly a repeatable formula. It is working so beautifully. The Packers rally, it's going to skew the stats. Green Bay put up 465 yards. That's the most that Brian Flores' defense has allowed this year. 29 points, obviously a season high against this Minnesota defense. They still did their thing. They still made life hell on the opposing quarterback. Jordan Love threw 3 interceptions in his return from a knee injury, including one midway through the 4th that kind of could put the kibosh on this thing. The Packers were down 9 halfway through the 4th quarter. Byron Murphy picks Jordan Love off in the end zone, and it kind of felt like, all right, if this was going to happen, that could not have happened. The Vikings survived the rally. Jordan Love, 7 of 20 with 2 interceptions when the Vikings were able to pressure him. So, yes, the stats aren't going to look pretty in the box score, but still a very effective effort from Minnesota. Like I said, against what we think to be really strong competition, especially this is a Green Bay. I mean, Jordan Love went out and did his thing, threw for a ton of yards, threw 4 touchdowns on the day. This was not the Malik Willis Packers trying to manage the game, run the ball, and get the hell out of town. This was the full thing, and Minnesota Vikings passed that test. I mean, San Francisco, Houston, Green Bay, it's hard to think of a team that should scare you if you're a Vikings fan after a run like this. We'll see what happens with Seattle, but at least a possibility. This is the last undefeated standing in the NFC. Tell me you saw that coming in August. I will call you a liar. Keep it pushing to the much less surprising team. The Chiefs did a Chiefs. Start the game in LA right here against the Chargers, down 10-0 before you could even blink. Some of the early games, I think Packers Vikings was still going, and the Chiefs were already down 10-0. It was just that type of start. And then ho-hum, Kansas City rallies. They win 17-10 in a very forgettable game. A forgettable game, but an unbelievable stat about Patrick Mahomes. He is now 13-12 in games that the Chiefs have trailed by 10 or more points. In all of modern football, he is the only quarterback with a winning record in those situations. It's absolutely incredible. For comparison's sake, Joe Montana is next best in the Super Bowl era at 15-23 when his team has trailed by 10 plus at any point in the game. Tom Brady, 36-61. Peyton Manning, 27-59. Okay, you need more recent context because clearly Tom and Peyton have played so many more games than Pat at this point in his career. How about Patrick's contemporaries? The other 2 quarterbacks that are widely seen as the best in the league. Josh Allen, in these situations, including Sunday night against Baltimore, he's 5-17 when his team goes down 10 at any point. And Lamar, 3-8. Very, very hard to do unless your name is Patrick Mahomes. And unfortunately for him, he cannot afford to let up because I think it's only going to get harder for the Chiefs from here. Rashee Rice is the latest blow to the Kansas City Chiefs. He went down early in this game. Chiefs' second possession is an interception. On the return, Rice is rolled up, ironically enough, on Mahomes. Mahomes is trying to get in the way, make a tackle on the ball carrier. Rice gets rolled up underneath him. No definitive diagnosis as we record this on Sunday night, but all of the signs, all of the reports coming out of Kansas City is that the Chiefs fear Rice suffered a torn ACL. That would obviously end his season. Just a brutal blow to the Kansas City offense, which feels like a theme. Obviously, Hollywood Brown already out, presumably, maybe for the year, if not at least a very long time. Isaiah Pacheco's on injured reserve, not expected back anytime soon. And we talked heading into the weekend about how this Chiefs offense had struggled to generate explosive plays. They had just 2 explosive gains. On this day, Mahomes found Travis Kelce for 38 yards, and then Xavier Worthy did have a 53-yard touchdown. Maybe that's your hope, is that your rookie who ran a 4.2 40 can up his role and be a guy you can count on week after week. But to this point, through a month of the season, he's averaging 2 catches per game, 3 for 73 in the touchdown today. It's a phenomenal start for a rookie. Don't get me wrong, but he's just not a volume guy. He's not the guy that has made play after play for them the way that Rashee Rice had been doing up to this point in the season. Kelce did break out this weekend, finally. 7 catches for 89 yards against the Chargers. I guess the hope is that he can continue to round into form. It still feels like the Chiefs don't quite have enough. Maybe they want to go look at the veteran receiver market if anything's out there. Or like I said, maybe Xavier Worthy can continue to step his game up. Fortunately, this is still a team that can very much lean on its defense. As I said, the Chargers scored on their first 2 possessions. It was 10-0 before everybody had even settled into their seats. And then the Chargers just did not score again. The Chiefs defense shutting them out for the rest of the way. So you got a defense you can count on, and you got Patrick Mahomes. That's a phenomenal place to start, but it does feel like it's going to be a little bit of a slog here for the Chiefs, at least in the short term. Still 4-0 though. Let's wrap this up. One last thing to get to. We already talked about the Bills, but the Pittsburgh Steelers fall from the ranks of the unbeaten. They lose 27-24 to the Indianapolis Colts, and it just might be Flacco season one more time. Last year, he got off the couch to save the Cleveland Browns. On Sunday, he comes off the bench. Anthony Richardson exits in the first quarter. Questionable decision-making on Indianapolis's part, by the way. Richardson injured his hip halfway through the first quarter, missed a couple minutes, came back, and immediately the Colts called a designed quarterback run that then prompted Richardson to leave the game for good. I think that's very strange, but that's why you pay Joe Flacco in the offseason. You bring him over from Cleveland to help you out in these situations. And he did it again. 16 of 26, 2 touchdowns, helped the Colts get 20 points after the Richardson injury. Can't ask for better than that for a guy who just keeps showing up and playing. I love it. 2 big fumbles sunk the Steelers. George Pickens had one in the Colts red zone. Justin Fields, another near midfield. I actually thought Fields was pretty good in this game. Like not a bad day at all for the Steelers. I just don't think they're built to win if they lose the turnover battle. I think that's the lesson we learn from the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are mortal on defense after all. Colts had a nice day on the ground, 133 rushing yards. We'll see how the Steelers rebound next weekend against the Dallas Cowboys. Our 6th and final item on the Sunday 6 was sitting open. You know, we like to leave ourselves a blank spot to catch anything we're missing. Sitting there debating what might it be? What do y'all need to know as we head into a Monday morning? And it was settled pretty easily. We found our number 6 right around the time Jayden Daniels scored his 6th NFL touchdown of the season. Chris Myers with the call.
A 47-yard penalty, 1st and goal, and Daniels trying to follow his block. Jayden Daniels to the end zone, and he's got a touchdown. Smiling all the way, and in command, Jayden Daniels gets to the end zone.
Jayden would, of course, score 2 on the day. He's up to 7 in his young NFL career. And if Monday night was a moment, and it was incredibly impressive to beat the Bengals on the road in front of a national audience, if that was a moment, then this is the day that Jayden Daniels says he's here to stay. Because, look, there's going to be ups and downs. I get it. But if you can go on a short week back on the road, not the best Cardinals team in the world, I get it. But the Commanders were 3.5-point underdogs in this game. You go on a short week back on the road and crush Arizona, you've got my attention and you've got me believing that this is completely sustainable. What a day for Washington. They beat Arizona 42-14. Jayden's first touchdown of the day puts him up 24-7 just after halftime, and a game that had been close suddenly doesn't feel close. And then midway through the fourth, he finds Terry McLaurin for another touchdown to put him up 35-14. Just a laugher from halftime onward. And what can you say about Jayden Daniels? Because the kid is literally rewriting history. 280 yards of total offense and the 2 touchdowns. He also becomes the first quarterback in the history of the NFL to post a completion percentage of 85% or better in 2 consecutive games. Better yet, you can go through the whole season. He's completing 82.1% of his passes for the year. That's the highest completion percentage by a quarterback in a 4-game span ever. All of them. We looked it up. We double-checked it just to make sure. All of them. Such an incredible start. And that's why Jen Hale wanted to make sure she caught up with Jayden when this game was over.
The Washington Commanders turn in a perfectly executed game when it comes to complimentary football and now sit alone atop the NFC East. Jayden, no matter what the situation, you seem to be in control. Is it as easy as you make it look out there?
Not at all. First and foremost, I want to give glory to God. You know, keeping everybody healthy on this field, giving us the protection, and helping us get the W.
With this squad, it seems like there's such great chemistry. Cliff Kingsbury had a lot of noise coming into today. Could you choose an aspect that you love the most about his play calling and working with him under the system?
His aggressiveness, kept the foot on the gas. We didn't get conservative. We kept playing football. We kept executing.
Congrats. Good luck against the Browns next week at home.
Thank you.
1,100 total yards of offense, 7 touchdowns, and maybe most importantly, just 1 turnover to this point in Jayden Daniels' young career. That is lapping his rookie counterparts, Caleb Williams and Bo Nix, to this point. But hey, when you've been through what Washington's been through and you've played the quarterback carousel that Washington has, you have every right to celebrate this, to be excited about it. It is so much fun to see. Don't look now. The Washington Commanders on top of the NFC East at 3-1 after a month. So excited to see where this goes. So excited for Jayden Daniels and Commanders fans. What a fun story to follow. That does it for the Sunday Six. That does it for the show, but don't you worry. It's another Monday night doubleheader in week 4. We've got Titans, Dolphins, as well as Seahawks, Lions in the Monday night slate. We're also going to dive into the Chicago Bears. Didn't talk much about them on the Sunday show. They did get a big win against the LA Rams on Sunday. We're going to take a close look at what's going on with them, Caleb, and how he's growing as a quarterback, not to mention an incredible Chicago defense that made life tough on Matthew Stafford. Talk to Jay Glazer on Monday as well. So much to look forward to. Cannot wait. If you're not, make sure you're subscribed. Spotify, Apple Podcast, all that good stuff. We'll be back in your feed so soon, and I appreciate it so much.